Welcome my good smelling friends, Ify here. Today I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fragrances which are good, but you probably never heard of them. You probably have heard of them, but you didn't know they were good. So these are some of the reasons why you don't know that these fragrances are good. Some of them are pretty popular, but you may have overlooked them because they are dated in terms of they were released a long time ago and people have forgotten about them. Some of them you probably don't know at all because they are not displayed on the fragrance shops, in the shelves of your local fragrance store. And because I'm passionate about fragrances, I spend a lot of time browsing about fragrances, and I'm finding and blind buying all these fragrances, and some of them, actually pretty much most of them, are really good, but not many people know about them. So let's begin. No order, just the fragrances. The first one, Moschino Forever. This is the case of a fragrance being released a while ago and people have forgotten about it. And it's actually a pretty good overall scent, but I feel like it has this orange smell and it's a very good summer fragrance. Good lasting power too, a pretty unique smell, not overly different, but still a very enjoyable and uplifting kumquat note based fragrance. It's actually a very good scent, and it's very cheap also. The next one, also from a very popular brand, Calvin Klein Man. I simply love this bottle, even though it's quite big for my tiny hands. Love the cap. I love everything about this bottle, and I really like the juice. By the way, I think this one is discontinued. I'm not sure, I'm going to check, but it's still available, even in the physical fragrance shops. And this one, guys, it's probably overlooked because it's a Calvin Klein fragrances, which usually are not that great, or at least that's the way they are being seen in the fragrance community. As you know, average fragrances, this one is actually pretty good. And the way it smells, if you like Dior Fahrenheit, this one smells like a cross between Dior Fahrenheit, a lighter and less sweeter Dior Fahrenheit, and it has this green freshness, like a bamboo freshness, rainforest freshness, like Starwalker from Mont Blanc has. So it's a mix between those two, but the side which comes up more is the Dior Fahrenheit side. This one on me actually performs quite good. It's not impressive, but for a Calvin Klein fragrance, it does go to 6 to 7 hours of longevity. Projection, alright, but it's a cheapie, guys. Calvin Klein Man. Another one from Calvin Klein which is definitely overlooked because I think it's one of the best Calvin Klein fragrances, and I'm going to mention this more and more often because this, I know it's being discontinued, and I want you guys to get a hold of it while it's still there because it's definitely very good. This is Calvin Klein Reveal, and if you like Ultramal by Jean Paul Gaultier, I think you'll like this one too because it has that pear sweetness. It does have pear as a note. It's fruity, but it's also boozy. It's much more than just Ultramal. It has its own complexity. Very good performance, cheap, it's still available online, and I think it's an overall great scent, not just for Calvin Klein fragrances, but as a designer. Now, the next one is actually going to be a fragrance which you probably never heard about, only if you have watched my channel and if you have watched Scentland, Chris's channel. You might know about Everlast for Men, 1910 which you might think it's a sports fragrance because Everlast does boxing equipment, but this has nothing to do with sport in terms of how this one smells, because this is a very classic masculine fragrance. And by classic, I do not mean it smells old. It's one of those DNAs that doesn't feel like it's going to get dated. It doesn't smell very modern, but it can be worn these days without smelling too dated. It's sweet, but it's also classic. So it's a combination of classic with modern. Performance is really good, but this one is being discontinued. So if you can still get a hold of it, I think you should try it, because it's definitely a very overlooked fragrance that not many people know about. The next one is a cheapie from a company which usually makes cheap fragrances, supermarket fragrances, and that's mainly the reason why you might not know about this fragrance. This is French Connection Homme or Man. The bottle is kind of really cheap. It feels really cheap. Even the atomizer, it's ridiculous. But the scent, it's actually quite good. It smells very modern, but it doesn't smell like just for teenagers fragrance, because let's face it, most of the fragrances that are released these days have that youthfulness to them, you know, they're targeted towards teenagers, very playful. This one smells very much like Versace Eros, but not in a way where I would say it's a clone, but it's more serious. So if you were looking for something a bit more mature or a more serious, even office version of Versace Eros, I think this one is an option. And actually this one has a decent performance. Actually it's more than just decent. And if you can find this one for under 20 pounds, $20, I think this one is worth it. And again, French Connection doesn't usually produce very good fragrances. They are mostly those commercial supermarket fragrances. But this one, you don't usually find in a supermarket. You mainly find it online, and obviously you're not going to be able to test it. So that's why I'm saying, if you can find it under $20 or 20 pounds, give it a try. Even check other reviews and see for yourself if it's worth blind buying or not. The next one is going to be this little fella from Michael Kors. This is just a 40 ml bottle of Extreme Speed. If you like fig fragrances, if you like niche-like fig smelling fragrances, even though this one doesn't have fig, it has cypress, I think. But overall, it gives the impression of a fig greenness, and it smells niche-like. Interesting and unique kind of smell. It doesn't feel like a designer fragrance. It feels like more than that. And again, this one is overlooked and people don't really know about it because, again, Michael Kors fragrances, not that popular. And this one in particular, Extreme Speed, I think it's one of their best. The next one is a niche fragrance, a new release, and I have talked about this fragrance before it was actually available to buy. It's Penhaligon's Rockets. It's created in such a way where I think its DNA, it's one of those DNAs where it's going to last. It's going to pass the test of time. I mean, I would put this DNA in the same category as Creed Aventus, Dior Sauvage, and the many other DNAs that, you know, you can just grab the bottle, spray on. You will get back to this scent more and more because it's something that's easy to wear, but at the same time it's special. It's different. It's a combination of citruses, like a sharp lemon, and the leather. Leather being the main player in the fragrance, but in the opening, the citruses are more prominent, and it gives you the impression of a weird combination initially, but when the citruses settle down, this becomes that masculine, easy to wear, leather-based fragrance. Eau de parfum concentration, it does perform good on me, and I think it's one of the best Penhaligon fragrances. So the reason why people don't know about this fragrance is because it's a new release, so not many people have had the chance to try this one. And the last two, I'm going to present them as a pair because they are from the same house, from the same line, and it's a line which people don't know about because it's not being highlighted. That's why I usually, when I get the chance, I highlight this line from Jesus del Pozo, which is their night line, like Arabian Nights. This is Noble Musk Nights, and this is Mystic Leather Nights. These are eau de parfum. They perform great. Usually the eau de parfum versions are with the golden cap, and the ones that are eau de toilette are blue. These two are great. I can easily say that every fragrance from this line that I have tried, including Arabian Nights, which I have shown you in a couple of videos, they're all great. This line from Jesus del Pozo, awesome. Not just the Halloween line, which by the way I haven't tried so far, so I cannot comment too much about it, but I have seen it mentioned a couple of times by other reviewers. I have seen lots of bottles being sold of those in that line, but not many people talk about this line, which is absolutely great. And I feel like I'm cheating with these fragrances because I get niche-like smell and great quality at the price of a designer. The bottles are also great. Noble Musk Nights is a mix of Creed Aventus DNA, and I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna say that it doesn't feel like a inspired by Creed Aventus fragrance, but it feels similar. So it doesn't feel like I'm getting another Creed Aventus clone. More of a modern take of that DNA because it smells like bubblegum with Creed Aventus in the background. It's youthful, it's a more uplifting, again more modern version of Creed Aventus with great performance. It feels different, okay? It doesn't feel again like a Creed Aventus clone. So I can own this and the rest of the clones, and this will definitely be different than the clones. So if you think that the Creed Aventus DNA is too mature, if you want something more easier to wear, more modern, great performance, Noble Musk Nights, it's really good. Bubblegum, sweet bubblegum with the great Creed Aventus DNA in the background. Mystic Leather Nights, wow, this smells niche. Obviously this is going to be a leather-based fragrance, but it has a spicy sweetness, spicy oriental sweetness, which makes it smell like one of Serge Lutens fragrances. This one actually smells niche-like, it performs great, and overall great quality for the price of a designer. So these were 9 fragrances that not many people know about, and maybe you didn't know they are good or even great. My job is done here. Until the next video, keep smelling great.